You wear it every day. It's the most comfortable piece of gear you own. You barely even notice it's there anymore. It's your soft armor, woven from 1,000 tiny justifications, stitched together with the threads of tomorrow and I'm too tired, lined with the velvet of convenient lies and the synthetic insulation of digital distraction. It feels safe. It feels warm. And it will get you killed. Not a quick death, a slow one. A drip feed of mediocrity that seeps into your soul until you're just a ghost, haunting the husk of the person you swore you'd become. Excuses are that soft armor, and they are failing you in a war you pretend you're not fighting. So, here's the first command. Strip them off. Right now. Mentally, spiritually, physically, peel that suffocating layer off your skin and stand there, exposed. Face the cold. Face the biting wind of absolute, undiluted reality. The reality that you are precisely where your habits have delivered you. No one else to blame, no system to point to, just you and the choices that have compounded into this very second. From this moment on, you will develop a violent allergy to comfort. When it shows up, and it will, like a smiling assassin, you will not just deny it. You will return the favor by turning up the heat. When your mind whispers, "That's enough," you answer with the clang of one more rep. When your lungs beg for you to stop, you answer with the thunder of one more mile. When the comfortable lie presents itself, you answer with the hard truth spoken to yourself in the dark, and you goddamn mean it. You will teach comfort to be afraid of you. You will make it your sworn enemy. You will hunt it down in every corner of your day and execute it without ceremony. This rejection of comfort will awaken something else, an old primal signal you've been trained to ignore. Pain. You think it's the enemy. You think it's a stop sign. You have been conditioned to believe that the primary objective of your life is to avoid discomfort at all costs. What a pathetic existence. What a profound misunderstanding of the entire human machine. Pain is a compass, not the enemy. It is a neurological flare fired from the front lines of your own potential, signaling where the real battle is. And your job is not to run from the flare. Your job is to run directly toward it. Walk straight into the shuddering. Walk toward the burn in your muscles until they feel like frayed ropes. Lean into the mental friction that screams at you to check your phone, to change the subject, to escape the difficult task. That is the needle of your compass spinning wildly. Don't stop until you have pushed so far into that territory that the screaming becomes a hum. That's where growth lives. It's not on the map. It lives in the territory marked, "Here be dragons." If the body screams, you don't just quit. You listen to the lesson. Is it the cry of injury or the whine of weakness? One requires wisdom, the other requires contempt. You must learn the difference. You must become a scholar of your own suffering. And if the mind lies, and oh, it will lie, if it builds a convincing, eloquent, reasonable case for why you should surrender, you drag that liar back to the truth by its throat. You make it crawl. You remind it who is in charge. You are not a vessel for your pain. You are the master of its purpose. Where do you find this truth? Where do you get the unvarnished, brutal assessment of your own condition? You don't need a focus group. You don't need an app. You have a tool. It's waiting for you. The mirror. It will tell you everything you refuse to hear. It's not just a reflection of your body. It is a reflection of your discipline, of your promises, of your lies. And most people can't even look. They glance. They see what they want to see, and then they look away. They're afraid of the judgment of an inanimate object because they know it tells the truest story. You will do the opposite. You will stand there, you will look, really look, and you will own everything you see. Own the filth, own the bloat, Own the fatigue in your eyes that speaks of defeat. Own the failures of yesterday. Own the hollowed-out promises you whispered to yourself last New Year's. Own the mornings you negotiated with the snooze button and lost. Own the covenants you broke with your own potential. Own it. All of it. Don't flinch. Don't look away. Let the truth of it sear itself into your brain. And then, with that full, horrific, empowering inventory taken, you will burn every excuse attached to it. Every "I've been busy," every "it's not that bad," every justification that propped up that version of you, you will incinerate them in the furnace of your renewed resolve. And you will rebuild. You will scavenge the parts that remain, the spark of defiance, the memory of strength, the ember of who you were meant to be, and you will start building a new machine. From the wreckage, from the ashes, you will use the truth of the mirror as your new blueprint. Where does this construction happen? It doesn't happen in the cheering crowds. It doesn't happen when people are patting you on the back. The real work, the forging of the soul, happens in the dark. It happens in the quiet. Solitude is a forge. In an era terrified of being alone with its own thoughts for more than 15 seconds, you will make solitude your temple. You will seek it out. You will carve out time to be utterly and completely by yourself. No phone, no podcast, no noise, just you and the deafening silence of your own character. In that quiet, one of two things happens. When your own name is the only voice in the room, you either become smaller, devoured by your own anxieties and weaknesses, or you become hardened. You are confronted by the unvarnished you. There is nowhere to run, the distractions are gone, the personas are stripped away, it's just you. You have to face the unedited raw footage of your own mind, and you must choose: shrink or harden, wither or forge. Choose to become the blade. Every moment of silence is a hammer blow. Every anxious thought confronted and disciplined is a fold in the steel. Every temptation that arises in the quiet and is ruthlessly choked out makes the edge sharper. You will emerge from these sessions of solitude not with peace, but with power. A quiet, centered lethality. You will become so comfortable with the deafening roar of your own inner world that the noise of the outside world sounds like a whisper. You will become the blade that cuts through the static. This blade needs to be tested. It needs to grind against something. Your old self built walls. They were called limitations. I'm not a morning person. I can't run that far. I'm not smart enough for that. I could never do what they do.
Limits are polite suggestions from a cowardly past. They are phantom walls built by a weaker version of you to keep you safe in a smaller cage. Your job is not to respect them. Your job is to smash them. You break them loudly. You break them violently. Not for an audience, not because you want a clip for the gram. You break them for the only witness that matters, the version of you that wakes up tomorrow. You owe that person. You are in debt to your future self, and the currency to repay that debt is the sweat, pain, and effort that you are unwilling to skip today. Every time you push past a self-imposed limit, you are sending a message forward in time that says, I'm coming, and I am bringing a stronger version of us with me. How do you break them? Day by day, appointment by appointment. Discipline isn't a badge you earn and get to wear forever. It's not a personality trait you're born with. Discipline is a brutal daily appointment. It's a meeting you schedule with your best self, and the agenda is always the same. Do the hard thing. You miss it once, and the world, your mind, your weakness, sees an opening. It sees that your resolve can be negotiated. It softens you. It plants a seed of doubt that will grow into a tree of mediocrity if you let it. You must therefore show up to this appointment like your life depends on it, because in a way, it does. The life you want, the one that exists right now only in your imagination, absolutely depends on you showing up today, and tomorrow, and the day after that. Your feelings don't get a vote. Your tiredness doesn't get a say. The appointment is on the calendar. You show up and you execute. That is the end of the conversation. Through this relentless process, something begins to happen. You start to change the very texture of your mind. The things that used to break you, that used to send you spiraling into a pit of despair or excuses, they start to lose their edge. This is the goal. Build a mental callus. Your hands get calluses from friction, protecting them and allowing them to handle more weight, more work. Your mind is no different. You must stop protecting it from every small hardship and psychological scrape. You must deliberately, systematically expose yourself to the very friction that used to destroy you until it simply doesn't anymore. The rejection you fear, go seek it out. The difficult conversation you're avoiding, go have it. The feeling of being overwhelmed, plunge yourself into a task that guarantees it and stay there. Repeat the curse of discomfort until it becomes a ritual. You metabolize the poison until it becomes your nourishment. The callus forms when the nerve endings of your psyche learn that the stimulus that used to scream danger is not actually a threat. It's just noise, and you can work through noise. This is how you become anti-fragile. This is how you build a mind that doesn't just survive shocks, but gets stronger from them. But there will be days when the weight of it all feels impossible. Days when the armor feels heavier than the attack. Days when every single fiber of your being, every rational thought, every primal urge begs you to just stop. To quit for just one day. In that moment, when the desire to surrender is a tidal wave, you don't need a grand strategy. You need a single, defiant act of rebellion. You must whisper a harder command, a simple command. Not today. When the alarm screams at 4 a.m. and the warmth of the bed feels like the only sane choice in the world, the command is not today. When you're halfway through the workout and the thought of finishing feels like a climb up Everest, the command is not today. When the allure of the easy path, the junk food, the mindless scroll presents itself as a sweet release from the pressure, the command is not today. That small, simple, private act of rebellion is everything. It is a single victory in the war of inches that defines your life. That small rebellion stacks. Victories compound. The not todays pile up. Those whispers build upon each other day after day until they become a deafening roar of defiance. One day stacks into a week. The weeks stack into months. The months stack into years. And those years build a life that does not bend. A life that answers to no one's limits, especially not its own. In this process, you will trip. You will stumble. You will fall flat on your face. Good. Fail spectacularly and fail forward. The modern world has made you terrified of looking foolish. It has taught you that failure is something to be avoided at all costs. Another lie. Failure is the price of admission for a ticket to greatness. The man who has never been knocked flat on his back has never felt the primal, explosive power of pushing off the ground with everything he has. You need to get acquainted with the taste of dirt. You need to learn the feeling of hitting the floor, because it's in that moment, in the split second after impact, that you find out what you're made of. Do you stay down and lick your wounds, or do you get up faster than you fell with a new fire in your eyes? Scrape your knees, get the bloody nose, suffer the embarrassment. Then use the data, use the pain. Sharpen your aim and go again. Harder, smarter. Why? Why do any of this? Why endure the pain, the solitude, the discipline, the failure? Not for the reasons you think. This isn't about glory. It is not about the applause. It is not about getting more likes, more followers, or more hollow praise from people whose opinions do not matter. That is a child's game. This is about something deeper, something elemental. This is about refusing to be soft in a soft world. It is an act of rebellion against the encroaching tide of mediocrity. It's about looking at a culture that prizes comfort above all and saying, "Not for me." You must get ruthless with your excuses. You must become tender and precise with the quality of your work. And you must become absolute and immovable in your refusal to settle for less than what you are capable of. The war is not outside. It's not against your boss, your competition, or the system. Stop looking for enemies out there. The greatest adversary you will ever face is the one staring back at you from the mirror every single morning. The war is the one you win between the time your alarm goes off and the time your head hits the pillow. It's a war you win or lose every single day. There is no tomorrow. There is no next week. There is only now. The cold reality of this second and the choice that you have to make within it. So make the choice. Strip off the armor. Walk toward the pain. Own the reflection. Forge yourself in the quiet. Break your limits. Win the war.